Welcome back to another live stream. Please share, subscribe, hit the like button for me, and let's get to this live. Brandon Johnson signed a right to protect executive orders. So Brandon Wright signed a right to protest executive orders. Now, Brian Johnson signed an executive orders directing Chicago police to protect peaceful protests even if federal authorities attempts to interfere. The measure instructs officers to work with organizers on alternative plans to keep demonstrations safe while upholding First Amendment rights. Johnson announced the policies after federal agency used force at a recent protest outside an ICE site in Bridgeview. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson signed an executive order aimed at protecting the rights of protesters in Chicago, even if federal authorities tried to intervene. The rights to protest orders direct the Chicago Police Department to work with protest organizers to find the alternative locations or plans if federal laws enforcement disrupt lawful, be discrimination while maintaining public safety and respecting First Amendment rights. The measure built on Johnson Protecting Chicago, which focused on safeguarding free speeches. The city of Chicago has proven time and time again that we can safeguard demonstration of any size while protecting the First Amendment rights. Johnson says, with the executive orders, we affirm that Chicago will remain a place where democracy and freedom reigns. Today, we proclaim that all residents and visitors can peacefully assemble petitions to the governments and speak freely in our cities. The order followed an incident last week when federal agents used force against demonstrators outside an immigration and customs enforcement sites in Bridgeview. Johnson says the new policies ensure the cities can proactively respond to large-scale demonstration without relying on federal interventions. Johnson touted CPD strong relationships with community activists, pointing to a large peaceful protest during last year. Democratic National Conventions as an example of effective local management. Now let's get this show going. Thank you guys for tuning in.
A long-lasting impact on not just the city of Chicago, but the entire state of Illinois. I also want to thank a number of members from my administration for being here today. Our Deputy Mayor of Immigrant, Migrant, and Refugee Rights, Beatrice Ponce de Leon, Deputy Mayor of Community Safety, Gary and Gatewood. We have our Budget Director, Annette Guzman, and then my Corporate Counsel, Mary Richardson Laurie. This morning I signed an executive order protecting the right to protest in the city of Chicago. Chicago remains a center of civic action, as it has been since our founding. Whether it's the abolitionist movement led by Chicagoans like John and Mary Jones, the uprisings for an 8-hour workday in the Haymarket era, the industrial union movement, led by the CIO, the women's rights movement, the civil rights movement, and other collective actions over the last 2 centuries.
With Thrivent, your financial journey isn't a solo mission. Your money is a tool to support the people, causes, and community you love. Because sometimes all you need to make a difference is someone to help you make it happen. Thrivent, where money means more.
Listen, it's called Connecting, and it's insane. I don't do schedules or timesheets manually anymore. And it works? Oh, like you wouldn't believe it. My team...
As history shows us, these peaceful protests have been a true catalyst for social change. This order is about being proactive, as we saw what happened in Broadview just a few days ago, where protesters were shot with less lethal bullets, pepper bullets, for peacefully protesting. With the presence of ICE in our neighborhoods, we can expect Chicago residents to follow in the footsteps of the generations of Chicagoans who came before them and peacefully assemble and protest. The First Amendment clearly states that we have the right to peacefully assemble, petition our government, and speak freely without intervention or fear of retaliation. If the federal government will not uphold this right, then the city of Chicago will. This executive order solidifies our commitment to protecting the constitutional rights of all residents and visitors, including the fundamental right to free speech and, again, to peacefully assemble. With this order, the roles of city departments and agencies and the Chicago Police Department are clearly defined in order.
Now, I want to say this to you guys that's, coming in. Trump is replicate Special Task Force, ATF, Homeland Security, CIA, you have FBI. He's bringing in heavy, military troops, prosecutors. So, with that being said, the mayor, Brandon, is trying to find where, we have a figure of speech to protect our streets. And, to protect what's happening. So, want to play this clip for you guys, man, because this becomes a problem whenever Trump deploys, these military troops. So, you guys, I'm gonna roll this video and just listen what Miss Johnson saying here, the mayor.
To support peaceful protests and the exercise of First Amendment rights. Today, the city of Chicago affirms that peaceful protests and dissent are essential to public safety, democracy, and civic engagement. And we affirm that the CPD possesses the resources, training, and professional expertise necessary to safeguard the exercise of the First Amendment freedoms within our city. This executive order is part of our Protecting Chicago initiative, a cross-departmental effort to protect our residents' constitutional rights and defend our democracy. Another effort in this initiative that I am proud to announce is the launch of our Protecting Chicago Toolkit, available on the new city website, chicago.gov/protect. Designed to provide residents streamlined updates of any federal intervention as well as centralized resources. This website is an expansion of the Mayor's Office of Immigrant, Migrant, and Refugee Rights' successful Know Your Rights campaign. The resources from the Know Your Rights campaign can be found on this website, in addition to resources that will help residents plan for peaceful protests, stay informed of their rights, and there is information on previous executive orders which affirm the CPD will remain locally controlled. The city of Chicago will continue doing everything in our power to protect communities and ultimately defend our democracy. The website, again, is chicago.gov/protect, and I encourage.
Now it says, according to reports, CNN, Chicago, it says Mayor Brandon Johnson signed rights to protest executive orders. Now, this is coming from CNN. It says here, and bear with me. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson signs an executive order Tuesday directing local police to protect protester constitutional rights, even if the federal authority tried to restrict some protests. The right to protest order comes as President Donald Trump this week continues promoting his plan to send federal personnel to Chicago. Under the orders, the Chicago Police Department is directed to work with protest organizers to find new locations and ways to continue their peaceful gathering if federal law enforcement disrupt lawful protest activities, according to the press release from the mayor's office. Chicago has proven time and time again that we can safeguard discrimination of any size while protecting First Amendment rights, Johnson said in a statement. This executive action is about being proactive so that we are prepared for any possible large scales, according to this report, in a response to increasing reckless federal governments. Johnson emphasized the city's long history of crime and violence. So he says Chicago remains a center of action as it has been since our founding, the movement that leads by Chicago like John and Mary Jones, the uprising for an 8-hour workday and the Haymarket era, the industrial union movement led by the CIO, the women's rights movements, the civil rights movements, and other collective actions over the last 2 centuries, he says to media Tuesday after signing the orders. Now let's go.
Our residents to remain informed, civically, peacefully engaged. Lastly, I'm sure all saw the Finance Committee unanimously approved our global settlement for the Watts case. This is about 2 things. 1, justice for survivors of torture and abuse by those who have been charged with keeping us safe.
I took control, went solo, and built my own online knife empire.
As all of you may remember, I included funding in our first budget for a monument in Chicago to honor the survivors of police torture. So this is a long-standing commitment of mine. It's not enough to just push for constitutional policing today. We also must rectify the crimes of the past, and that starts with justice for the victims. And in this instance, we're talking about 170 cases and 204 years of custody. 2 centuries in custody is what we're talking about. And secondly, this is of course about protecting the taxpayers. As much as we can, we have to do that. And this is a good deal for the people of Chicago, and it's a fair deal for the survivors of these crimes. And that is why I instructed our corporation counsel to pursue this strategy, and I'm glad that the city council agrees with our approach. And finally, I want to congratulate again, we have another grandparent amongst us, reporter Fran Spillman, on becoming a brand new grandmother on Sunday, and so we wish her and her entire family all the best. So thank you all. Now I am gleefully ready to answer all of your questions.
Okay. Testing. All right. William, we're going to start with you. Right here.
Mayor Johnson, we've all seen the horrific video of Irena Zaruska being stabbed in the neck on public transportation. In Chicago, we have countless examples of women being punched in the face, choked out, robbed, abused, murdered by violent repeat offenders.
I'm gonna say like this: that Mayor Brandon Johnson got his hands tied because now they ask him some serious questions. You know what I mean? The bus stabbing. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Women being, you know what I mean, beaten. So this is some questions, you know what I mean, that these reporters asking. You know, mind you, that the mayor was saying for Trump not to deploy National Guards. Now, these reporters asking him some serious questions I want you guys to hear, you know, because, you know, I've been saying that they coming with a mind of their own to bring in, you know what I mean, heavy military. So I want you guys to listen what the reporter's saying to the mayor because he got some answers that he got to do, man, and there's some serious issues, you know what I mean, that the city of Chicago, you know what I mean, is having. So I want y'all to listen what the reporter's asking the mayor. So let's go.
And your only legislation or in regards to public safety on public transportation is don't smoke cigarettes. Is there anything that you'd like to say to the women who have been abused by violent repeat offenders in the city of Chicago?
Well, first of all, my community safety plan is far more substantive than just asking people not to smoke. Our investments in community safety have been unprecedented, quite frankly, and public safety and community safety will always remain my top priority. Our deputy mayor can speak very cogently about the community safety plan, which is the people's plan. And the ultimate goal is to drive violence down in the city of Chicago, whether it's on a train or in a neighborhood. There are way too many individuals, of course, that have been victimized by violence. And it, again, is my top priority to continue to make sure that we're investing in our detectives division as our detectives bureau coordinates and collaborates with our counterintelligence and all of our stakeholders come together to drive violence down the city of Chicago. Many of these acts, as you have described, are quite horrific, and that's why I'm working hard every single day to make sure that even with the 30% reduction in homicides, even with the over 35% reduction in shootings and shooting victims, as we continue to get a handle on robberies, look, any act of violence is one act too many. And I'm going to work hard every day to ensure that we build the safest, most affordable big city in America.
Mayor Johnson, we've all seen the horrific video of Charlie Kirk being politically assassinated. In Chicago, we saw an ICE agent reportedly run over by an illegal alien. Many people tell me, real Chicagoans tell me, that it's your violent, racist hate speech that is causing people to commit these acts of violence. What do you say to the real Chicagoans who detest what they call the insipid, insidious, boneheaded hate speech that you engage in on a daily basis?
Well, first of all, I don't engage in hate speech. In fact, I think it's important that we note that, as I've said from the very beginning of this tragedy that occurred in our country, that political violence is not only abhorrent, but it undermines the sensibility of our democracy, and there's no place for political violence. In fact, violence as a whole is something that, as a country and as a nation, that we have to continue to come together to ensure that we eliminate all acts of violence.
Luxury kitchens are evolving, and curves are leading the way. Rounded corner designs soften hard lines, creating seamless...
My prayers, of course, are still with Mrs. Kirk and the two children of Charlie Kirk. But again, we boldly and in very direct terms openly reject all acts of violence, and particularly political violence. Thank you for those questions.
I just want to say this. You see how respectful the mayor is, man. Cause the mayor knows he got his hands tied in Chicago with these crimes. Now, you see how he have showed his respect. You know what I mean? And the assassination of the death of Charlie Kirk. That's just to show a lot of intelligent black men have respect, regardless what the man said. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? But there's people actually have respect. You know what I mean? There's actually black people show condolences to the death of Charlie Kirk. So you know what I mean? There's a lot of social media when it comes to social media and things like that. When it comes to um, Tucker Carlson was saying that there's you get a lot of people in social media. A lot of people say some appropriate things. You know what I mean? Yes, if people say some appropriate things, man. You know what I mean? And when it comes to our society world, yeah, people gonna say appropriate things. But here's a man. You know what I mean? The mayor. Brandon Johnson said some highly things of Charlie Kirk, man. Because we want to move on. We want to be at peace, and we want to move on to, solve the issues we have. You know what I mean? I just want to say that Brandon Johnson got his hands tied. The city mayor got his hands tied because if you notice, just listen on what the reporter's saying. They're asking him some serious questions. So you know, just want to say this, man. The city mayor, you know what I mean, when it comes to Brandon Johnson, he don't want Trump to deploy National Guard. So, he's at a situation where, you know what I mean, he only can do so much. You know what I mean? When you're looking at a city of Chicago, crime at an ultimate high. So, he only can do so much. Let's go.
Hi, Mayor.
Hi.
Gregory Bovino is in town. He arrived this morning promising many more arrests by ICE of people he say are undocumented. What do you say to the people of Chicago who saw those videos this morning and felt fear and concern for their relatives and loved ones?
Well, look, I understand that the fear and the anxiety is real. That's what this president is attempting to promulgate. That is his tactic. The city of Chicago is a firm, welcoming city. And so in terms of how our local police department will behave, along with my administration, we're going to ensure that the people of Chicago know their rights. We're going to protect people's rights to be able to peacefully assemble and push back against this form of tyranny that is being promulgated throughout our entire country. And then finally, we are putting forth, again, more stronger executive orders to ensure that there are policies in place to ensure maximum protection for the people of Chicago. What I'm also grateful for, though, is that the number of people in this city that have come together and have put their arms around our immigrant community. Look, this is an important part of the fabric and the soul of Chicago. Immigrants from around the world, whether they're Polish, Jewish, Italian, immigrants have come to the city of Chicago to find absolute refuge. And we're talking about 3 and 4 generations later. And that's what the president is trying to interrupt. Somehow he's intimidated by the level of diversity in the makeup of the city of Chicago. This is a city that has a long history of resistance. Again, the city that birthed Keep Hope Alive. Yes, we can. Right? The city that birthed the labor movement. And so we're going to continue to remain firm. And I get that people are feeling a level of anxiety, but they should be assured that as far as I'm concerned, in my administration, we're going to work with all of our stakeholders to ensure that the people of Chicago are protected and supported.
This afternoon.
when he said that people feel a level of anxiety is because, in Chicago, there's a lot of killings. We have in Chicago. What I mean? We see black killings in Chicago, and there's a level of violence in Chicago. And the people having anxiety, and a lot of people dealing with depression, and just want to say, whenever our world's dealing with anxiety, depression, we got to cast all anxieties on him because he cares for you. And we got to be alert because the enemy, the devil, he prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking who he can devour. So yeah, there's people, in society who are dealing with anxieties, depression, disorder. A lot of people dealing with where you see a lot of people fighting with mental health. So we in a world society where, we come into a great, depression. Want to just say that there's a lot of people, dissatisfied. Where how, our world's, is going. Like people is not happy where, there's people have to go about their living situations. FEMA, they putting a stop to FEMA. Insurance companies, people find out they only can do so much, So expecting, this fallout to come, expecting for it and economy, crash because we on the break of a, fallout. So it just heads up to you guys, and I want you guys to take these things with a grain of salt, man, because America is finna have a big fallout sooner or later.
And the president renewed his threat to send the National Guard to Chicago over your objections and the objections of Governor Pritzker. Is there any reason for the president to deploy National Guard troops or other armed military personnel to Chicago to focus on crime or violence?
At Wayfair, ordering in delivers all the style.
What are we craving? Something Italian?
Ooh, you read my mind. Italian will pair great with this bowl.
Dr. King referred to militarism as a sickness. Unfortunately, this president is full of that sickness. There are no circumstances under which the deployment of American soldiers should be sent in cities across America. It's actually quite upsetting that this president has seduced a number of American people into his meretricious form of governance that has placed our democracy at incredible risk. That's why I put forth executive orders to ensure maximum protection. That's why we're going to continue to hold firm as a welcoming city. But this is why we're also going to reject this illness of militarism, of racism, the sickness of not being willing to address poverty. If this president was sincere about addressing crime in Chicago and American cities, he would not cut the budget by 30% of ATF. There's an opportunity for ATF to coordinate with local police departments across America to get illegal guns off the streets of Chicago and cities across America that are being illegally trafficked from states like Mississippi, Louisiana, Indiana. That's an effort that's worthwhile investing in. Unfortunately, it's pretty clear that the office of the president has been cheapened by this president.
Hi, Mayor.
Hi.
On the executive order, can you kind of specify how this directive to CPD to coordinate with protest organizers is different from current CPD policy? And can you
walk through sort of an example of when this policy would come into play?
Well, thank you for that question. Let's look at what happened in Broadview. There's no policy in place that if the federal government interferes with our First Amendment rights, there's no policy in place. This executive order gives a clear order that in the event the federal government tramples on the Constitution, our police department has a responsibility to make sure that we're protecting our democracy. And we saw this happen in Broadview, where from a roof you had the federal government with armed, less lethal, bullets, but it's still bullets nonetheless. And so this is why this executive order is critical, because we want to make sure that there's a clear policy on what the CPD has a right to do now under my executive order.
On the budget task force that you assembled and the report that's out, it recommends increasing property taxes with the rate of inflation, saying the city needs its largest revenue source to keep up with the rate of inflation. Have you had a chance to read through that report, and do you agree with that recommendation?
I have not read through the entire report. As you know, this is a part of a larger package of engagement, whether it's this working group, our community engagement. We've had several community engagement meetings within communities. We have, again, our entire budget working group as well. I don't agree with that particular proposal that the working group has put forward. But one of the things that it's clear to note that the working group fully established that we do not have a spending problem in Chicago. We have a revenue challenge in Chicago. And that's an important conclusion that I believe was necessary for the people of Chicago to hear. And again, to know that we have brought together everyone, different facets of leadership, whether it's the business community, labor, community-based organizations, elected leaders, the neighborhoods themselves. Like, I'm literally taking all of the interests and ideas from a cross-section of individuals across our city to ensure that we deal with the structural damage that we've inherited. We're going to fix it. We're going to do it together, though.
Mayor, good morning.
Good morning.
We were told, our sources with News Nation were told that Secretary Noem is also in town as part of the Border Patrol enforcement efforts. Have you heard anything from DHS, your office specifically, and even to go a step further, have you heard anything from the White House as far as those threats to send the National Guard?
Now, according to the CNN report, it says Trump announcement marks his latest attempt to intervene in the city affairs despite strong opposition from Johnson, Illinois governor. It says the conflict intensified after Trump August 25th remark where he called Chicago a disaster and the government a slump, while suggesting some people might prefer a dictator. According to reports, it says responds by calling Trump proposed action legal, unconstitutional, and un-American. In response, Chicago began preparing for a potential federal intervention. On August 30, Johnson signed an executive order rejecting any attempt to deploy U.S. Army force or National Guard troops in the city. That order creates the Protecting Chicago initiative aimed at defending resident rights. The Chicago official point to recent crimes statistics showing a 31% reduction in murder, 33% increase in robberies compared to 2024, challenging Trump's descriptions of the city as a killing field.
Beyond what we heard from you guys within the last few weeks, that there had been no communication.
That remains the same. We have not had any direct conversations from the White House. The president uses these really awkward interactions at the White House to randomly spew inaccurate information, or even, I guess the best thing that I could call them are.
I want to say what Trump is doing, you know what I mean? This is a rhetoric. Like, you see how he's replicating ATF, you know what I mean, National Guards, Homeland Security, FBI, detective, prosecutors. Trump is deploying heavy National Guards into Chicago, Memphis, where you had the governor, you know what I mean, when it comes to the governor, city mayor, you know, Brandon Johnson is signing executive orders to stop, you know what I mean, Trump from deploying National Guards into the city of Chicago. Now let's go.
Suggestions at best, threats, of course, is what they are more like. However, but there has not been any coordination with.
How are we able to offer the Percy dining set for just $2.95? At Living Spaces, we design furniture with affordable materials and build the products ourselves.
My office, our Chicago Police Department, to drive violence down in the city of Chicago. Look, we want criminals off the streets of Chicago. Let's be absolutely clear about it. We want them off the streets of Chicago. There's a way in which we can do that by upholding our Constitution, as well as working to keep the people of this city safe. This president is not interested in that. He has eroded the very sensibilities about our democracy, and our humanity continues to be trampled on by this president as well. But we're not going to tolerate it in the city of Chicago. We're going to stand firm. We're convicted in our values as it relates to standing up for working people and for the immigrant community. If this president was serious, he would coordinate with us and have conversations around the things that are actually working in our city.
Just one more question on the topic of crime in the city. Obviously, last week, the story involving suspects that were alleged to have robbed the Louis Vuitton store and then crashed into a man who was on his way to his final shift before his paternity leave really caught a lot of people's attention, and a lot of people very upset that an innocent man lost his life. Anything that you'd want to say just regarding those acts that we've seen from folks in the city? We've seen several pretty significant crash and grab sort of style crimes, and it seems to be catching the attention of a lot of people who may even be advocating for the National Guard to come in. What would you say, to the family impacted by that, and people who may have concerns about that type of violence in the city?
Well, look, it's my top priority, addressing violence in our city and community safety as a whole. I speak with the superintendent every day. We speak on a regular basis, sometimes throughout the day, and this is something that I've talked to him about. We are going to have more substantive conversations with business leaders in the city to find ways in which we can prevent these type of violent acts from occurring. Now, the good news is that we've caught them, right? And we're going to hold people accountable. This is what I said from the very beginning. It's why I've invested so much into our Detectives Bureau. And I'm grateful for the work of our local police department that was able to bring swift recovery, if you will, to what took place. And then most importantly, of course, when you see this type of tragedy, particularly when loss occurs, it breaks your heart every time. We're talking about a family member, an innocent bystander who gets caught up in this nonsense, right? And so we're going to fully expect that there will be absolute accountability for these perpetrators, and we're going to continue to work with our police department and our business community to come up with other strategies to ultimately prevent these type of occurrences from taking place.
Mayor, thank you. Can you
Of course,
clarify
you're welcome.
what you meant when you talked here just a moment ago? How you said we will protect the taxpayers as much as we can.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So look, we're talking about 176 individuals that are cases of innocent people, and look, we have to right those wrongs. And so as we talk about constitutional policing moving forward, we have to ensure that we build and just build the trust between local law enforcement and the community. And so one of the things that, I directed our corporate counsel to do from day one is that we have to look at these past settlements and we have to find a better strategic way at addressing them. Look, at some point, we're going to have to pay restitution or reparations, quite frankly, to these individuals. And it's going to cost taxpayer dollars. But coming up with this strategy was so that we could mitigate some of the full harm that, quite frankly, hits not just those individuals who have suffered under.
The problem that the state of Chicago having, the city mayor having, is that they can't get no one to comply. Like, they got police, but they can't get ATF to work on solving, having a strategy to stop crime. How can they stop crime in the city of Chicago? When you have the city mayor, his hands is tied, and he just won't, the ATF to come in and have a solution. How can we stop the crime that's happening in Chicago? Chicago is a big city, and crimes happen in Chicago almost every day. Let's go.
This particular police officer, Watts, but also making sure that we are moving forward with some level of responsibility when it comes to the taxpayers. Like, look, $90 million is not something to just blink your eye at, but as the corporate counsel has expressed, conservatively, had we not settled this the way we have, it could have cost $500 million.
And I know it's been mentioned somewhat, but can you address, it sounded as if Chicago was not going to be any target as of last week. Now this week, here we are. So what do you make of that they on again, off again?
Yeah, the president is unstable. He's an unstable man. He's a very double-minded individual. He is, and there's no secret there. Look, we remain focused in our position as a city, defending and protecting the rights of Chicagoans. That is my reasonable service as mayor of this great city. And I will stand up and against anyone who looks to disrupt and interrupt our democracy. Chicago has a long history of remaining firm and strong when it comes to protecting the civil liberties of people, and I will do that. This is the problem with this president. He has cheapened the office. This is why you don't buy knockoffs. Over time, it withers.
Just found this unbelievable sequin dress on eBay. From a seller who's probably a Vegas showgirl. Then I was craving something sporty, found these.
Mayor, thank you for taking the question. If I heard correctly, you
Well, it
mentioned...
depends on which questions you're about to ask me. No, go ahead.
Let's see how it goes. So I think I heard you correctly saying that you don't agree with the budget group's recommendation for the CPI index property tax increase.
I do not.
Okay. And so I was wondering what what items you may agree with, and if you have any thoughts about the up to $455 million worth of cuts that they had suggested as well.
Well, look, I have not read the full report. I think all of us are looking at it at the same time. And again, this is a part of a larger effort to bring multiple voices to the table so that we can deal with the structural challenges. Again, I just want to highlight the fact that this working group, this very diverse group, they were all very clear that we do not have a spending problem in Chicago. We do not. We have a revenue challenge in this city. And so, there are some ideas that they put forward that I get a chance to review. For instance, some of we can find more productive ways in which we can administer government, right? So there are some forms of technology that we can use so that we're not duplicating activity, right? So there are some cost savings there. I believe that the group actually put forth a proposal around the corporate head tax. There's no secret to where I stand there. So we're gonna, I'm gonna dig in and look at this report, but there are multiple reports that are gonna come out, and we're gonna make sure that every single voice in the city of Chicago is heard in our budget process.
Follow up to that, one of the recommendations was to maximize the TIF surplus. I believe it was about 137 million that was cited. Do you agree with that you were going to surplus a maximum amount of 137 million?
Well, look, we're going to look at TIFs, of course, right? I mean, there's no secret here. The last two budgets, I believe, I released the largest TIF surplus in the history of Chicago. Is that correct, Budget Director Guzman?
I want to say in the very beginning of 2026, they are going to do a nationwide crackdown. So don't be surprised you see martial law. I won't be surprised they start, declaring, curfews. It's going to happen, y'all. It's going to happen. They're going to do a nationwide crackdown. And I won't put nothing, past it, fam, that they will have a government shutdown to just make sure, people are in at a certain time. Oh yeah, they will probably go to a government shutdown. So I won't be surprised, you guys. So expecting, some things to happen in the very beginning of, next year. So this my word, my advice to you, let's go.
So people obviously know my values. Again, we're going to explore and look at everything, but it's something that I'm grateful for, though, that so many different voices are actively engaged as I convene people of cross sectors to ensure that we build on essentially what my vision for the city of Chicago is, which is for it to be the safest, most affordable big city in America.
Hi, Mayor. Good to see you're feeling better.
Do you have a nickname?
Do I have a nickname?
For now that you're a grandfather?
Not yet. He hasn't been able to articulate.
Okay, I'm just saying. You want to give one to me? You don't care?
Well, I do. Let's have a conversation about that.
All right.
Thank you for asking.
Any recommendations for Fran? No, I'm talking to you.
No, none.
All right.
Staying in my lane, okay? Let me goes back to Broadview. One of the things that I think we saw out of Broadview was the protesters there blocking the ICE agents from coming and going from their facility. Do protesters have a right to prevent the feds from doing their job and coming and going from their facility?
Well, look, this is why this executive order is so critical, right? Because it sets up parameters. Look, I don't have, that particular example that you just raised that has not been brought before me. But again, this is about making sure that in the event the federal government attempts to eliminate the First Amendment right for our folks in Chicago to peacefully be able to assemble, we have now an executive order that specifies what's permitted.
So, just to follow up on that, if they were to, for example, block a facility in Chicago, protesters were, and the ICE agents were not able to come and go to do their job, would that be an acceptable form of protest that would be, protected by Chicago police? Or, just so we clarify.
No, just absolutely. Look, there are areas in which the First Amendment can be freely expressed. If someone is,
they got ICE agent, y'all. They got, military, troops. I'm gonna say this to you guys, man. All this is coming on the people. People's terrified. People going through anxiety, depression. People going through disorder, mentally disorders. And I'm gonna tell y'all, man. America got a score that they got to settle. Russia, China, but they got all these ICE agents that they just, you know what I mean, hired. You know what I mean? All these special task force prosecutors, because they know that there's going to be a lot of arrests made, and you know what I mean. And while we always looking on our left, and we got Russia and China looking in on the right hand side, and there's still the war to come with America and Russia. Rumors is already surfing that NATO is pushing a line with Russia. And it's not going to look good, man. It's not going to look good. You know what I mean? We got a distraction happening right now in our world, man. And Trump is trying to dehumanize the population and trying to, you know what I mean, reset America, you know. And, you know, the sad thing you see is that you have the city mayors. They don't want this thing to happen. You know what I mean? Because he don't think it's best, you know what I mean, for the people to have National Guards roaming to the streets. I mean, see, this is what I'm saying, man. We dealing with arrogant people, man. You know what I mean? Brandon Johnson called out, you know what I mean, for, you know what I mean, peace, where we need to work on our police department where they can work with the ATF. You know what I mean, to get the criminals off our streets. So, you know, this become a problem, you know. You know what I mean? This become a problem. Crime, violence, we see, and America becomes a problem. Let's go.
It's in violation of federal law, or if it works outside the parameters of the First Amendment, that's a much different case. But what we're talking about here in Chicago is making sure that the right to be able to peacefully assemble and do that without obstruction from the federal government, that's what this goal of the executive order is.
And just to help me understand further on that point, how would you envision the federal government acting in that way, and what does this really change for what we've seen? I mean, we saw, you mentioned the DNC, you know, obviously there was a lot of, can I keep going? So, you know, what
look, I mean, here's the thing. Because this president is so unhinged, we just don't know what his directives are going to be. The point is that there's something very fundamental about our country, and that's the ability to be able to peacefully assemble and petition its government. That's what this executive order does. And if the federal government attempts to erode and trample on the Constitution, the city of Chicago is not going to stand for it.
Trabajando andamos, paisanos, ¿cómo están? Mis colegas por ahí que se dedican a la jardinería, a la construcción, a las yardas, al landscaping. A eso se dedica tu servidor. ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? Te saluda Aurelio Olivera. Me vas a encontrar ahí en YouTube como El Yardero Perrón. Así sencillito. El Yardero Perrón. Lo que hago en mis videos es darte algunas sugerencias, algunos tips.
Good afternoon, Mayor Johnson. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great, thank you.
Some folks watching Monday Night Football last night saw an ad from DHS inviting Chicago law enforcement officers to come work for them, generous benefits, student loan forgiveness, and inviting them to complete their mission because officers in sanctuary cities were being prevented from doing so. Do you think DHS is trying to poach members of the Chicago Police Department, and how do you think that affects
the department's ability and effort in recruiting new officers?
Look, under the leadership of Superintendent Snelling, he's done an incredible job at restoring the morale of our police department, which had been depleted for some time, as well as working to institute constitutional policing. Right? That's the direction that we are, that's where we are now. And we're moving with expediency to ensure that our police department shows up on behalf of the people of this city in an honorable way. What this president is proposing, and you've seen this in his budget, where he has placed more dollars in the hands of ICE operation than in the hands of working people. And
You see, that becomes a huge problem. When you put more money in the hands of ICE agents that you hire, what are you hiring ICE agents for? I mean, they got 10,000 ICE agents that they hire, man. No wonder, no wonder when it comes to middle class people, our income tax don't look the same because they're using our federal dollars. This bill that Trump signed to send more money to ICE agents. This becomes a problem we have.
It's unfortunate that, for many of our folks who are serving on the front line, where they see poverty every single day. They do. They see Chicagoans in too many instances in their worst day. And it's also disingenuous because if he was serious about supporting local law enforcement, why is he withdrawing 30% of the funding that would go towards getting illegal guns off the streets of Chicago? That's what our officers need. They need support from the federal government to ensure that we can work in collaboration to get illegal guns off the streets of Chicago and to hold criminals accountable. I'm very proud of the work that we are doing in this city. There's a lot more work to be done. But this president, his approach is just all messed up. It's just off, right? And so we're going to remain firm in ensuring that we have the strongest, the best, the brightest that are serving on the front lines of the city of Chicago. I'm very proud of the work that our police department is doing.
And to follow up, so you're not concerned that ICE is going to poach members of the Chicago Police
I
Department?
mean, look, first of all, can I just say that it's a horrible way to recruit. It just is. And again, I think the focus is it's making sure that the people of Chicago know that we have a city and a government that is ran with discipline, it's ran with compassion and love, but also ran with real structure, right? And so I don't sit around worrying about, the president's tactics. The things that I concern myself with every single day is making sure that people can put food on their table, that they have good paying jobs, they have access to health care, that we can build more affordable housing. That's what I focusing on every single day, and that's the full force of my administration is doing that on a daily basis.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So following up on your alleged pants on fire moment on WPEZ today with my colleague Prosperity and the ongoing split sentiment as far as what sending in troops to federalized military rather to Chicago. The remaining question that has yet to be answered, because you're running from it like I'm Mary Ann Abraham, is what do you, the Illinois Attorney General, and the governor have to offer in lieu of sending in the National Guard, the 101st Airborne, or what have you, to make Chicagoans feel safe in their communities in real time outside of reported statistics and so on.
I think I understand your question. Okay, let me just start with this. How about this? In 1974, there were 970 murders. Okay. 1995, there were 828 murders. 2016, 778 murders. 2021, 805 murders. This has been a problem in this city for a very long time. Now, my deputy mayor, Gatewood, this is the topic and the work every single day to drive violence down in the city of Chicago. So when you talk about what we're offering a better pathway so that we don't have 970 people murdered in our city every single year.
You see, 978 people murdered in Chicago every year. That's a high number, man. You got police, you got FBI and detective, they are all here, but how can they find a solution? Now, on the flip side of things, Trump wants to send National Guards to dehumanize these cities like Chicago, Memphis, Los Angeles. He want to hit into these states, you know what I mean, especially the blue states, but he want to hit in these states to dehumanize a population, sending in special, you know what I mean, tasks. So, you know, so that you have the city mayor like Brandon Johnson can't even talk regarding, you know what I mean, the issue when it comes to violence and crime. Let's go.
Now, one is one too many. But you're not going to convince me that the people of Chicago only deserve law enforcement. I get so sick and tired of people believing that the only thing that black and brown and poor people get to get in this city are badges. People want jobs. It's why we've increased the ability for young people to have jobs in this city. People want health care and behavioral mental health care. That's what they ask me. That's what.
So he makes a point. When you take that, when you take, you know what I mean, healthcare and all these public assistance away, just make people only have to commit these crimes. You know what I mean? Crime, see, crimes becomes a very serious issue. Especially in the city of Chicago, where you have the city mayor, you know what I mean, Brandon Johnson, is asking that, you know, we need more than this police officer. We need the ATF. We need, you know what I mean, extra special task force. But, you know, he been reaching out, like, you don't need to deploy National Guards. But, you know what I mean, but you need probably more police officer, you know what I mean, ATF to work together to decide how they can come with a crackdown of taking criminals, you know what I mean, off the street. Let's go.
That's why we've expanded it. People want to be able to afford to live in this city. That's why I'm building more affordable units. People want justice if they do get wrapped up into this spiral of despair in this city. It's why we're actually solving cases, whether it's CVI workers, making sure that we're avoiding retaliation in this city. I get so sick and tired of people in this country and in this city that believes that the only thing that you can offer black people and poor people is jails, incarceration, and police officers. Dr. King said this right here in Chicago, the National Conference on New Politics. What did he say? He said militarism is a sickness. I am trying to eradicate the sickness from this city and from this country. To offer, no, listen, Mark, I get to answer my question now. You've asked it. No, Mark, I'm answering my questions. Of course they are, but you're not going to be able to avoid that if we don't do the things that actually work. We are not split on this issue. The fact of the matter is, no one has asked me to send federal troops into this city to make it safe. It has never come up. It never came up during the campaign. It's never come up in the first 2 years. The fact of the matter is, we are driving violence down in this city, and we're using every single resource that's available to us. Jails and incarceration and law enforcement is a sickness that has not led to safe communities. I'm going to work hard every single day to protect the people who are caught up in violence in this city. Guess why? You want to know why?
Why are we caught up in violence in this city? Because when you take away public assistance, when you take away healthcare, when you take away Section 8, when you sign a big beautiful bill, you take away these things, it only bring crime up. And then we have a political issue where neither party, you see Republicans and Democrats, can address. You know how disgusting this is? You know how sick this is? To this generation, it's sick, man. It's sick to see we have political leaders. We have our governments can't solve the issue. No wonder people walk around, stressed, having a depression, walk around with anxiety. People are having a meltdown because we have a president that can't find a solution. We have a president who really wants to, hammer in and sending the National Guards into his city. It's sad. This is sad, y'all.
Because the vast majority of them look like me. This president has never asked a very simple question to me, Brandon Scott, Barbara Lee, Randall Woodfin. He doesn't talk to black mayors about what it's like to live in communities that have been disinvested in. So no, we're not going to succumb to the sickness and the evil that Dr. King warned us about a generation ago. It didn't work in 74, when 970 people were being killed. It didn't work in the 90s, when no one said a mumbling word about how many people were losing their lives because of violence in this city. And now we're actually doing the work that's working. Now all of a sudden everybody has these ideas. They've shown this is a group project, but we're not going to allow the President of the United States of America or any of his ilk look at the work that we're doing across this country, and then now we're experiencing some level of reprieve, and now he wants to put his name on our paper. No, not going to tolerate it. It's a sickness, and we're going to eradicate it.
So our collection of sources are saying that Walter Burnett's potential appointment as CEO of the Chicago Housing Authority is being held up again because the HUD has made an offer that you can't refuse, which is that if you all go ahead and appoint him without sorting out these potential conflicts of interest, that CHA will go into receivership, meaning that you will lose local control of the CHA and it will go to federal control. What do you have to say to respond?
First of all, it's inaccurate information. Second of all, Walter Burnett, former alderman, is in a rarefied space. He would be one of the few individuals running a housing authority that actually grew up in public housing. The local board has not recognized some of the feedback that has come back as a conflict of interest. We're working through all of those elements and dynamics, and we fully expect that the board will be able to move forward with the former alderman. Thank you for those questions.
Monica. It's okay. Monica, go ahead. Mark, we can't. All right, we'll get to that next week. Go ahead, Monica. Thanks.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
President Trump said that an important person in the Chicago business community has asked him to come into the city to save the city. Do you have any conjecture of who this important business person is? And do you feel that the business community in general wants the National Guard here?
No, to both of them.
Okay, so yeah.
No, to both of them.
Got it. Okay, next question. The last two times I went to the Bally's temporary casino, the patrons appeared to be primarily low-income Asian Americans who had been bussed there on the hour, and low-income African Americans. Some who may have been coming on a PACE bus or not. I don't have a view into their bank account, so I don't know, but it felt like this is a regressive way to shore up our police and fire pensions. I know you didn't usher in the casino, but is there a way for the city to avoid trying to solve the pension problem on the backs of gamblers who may have the least ability to pay for it?
Yeah, we could tax the rich.
But is there anything on the casino front that you can do?
Well, which one? I mean, you asked me if there's a way in which we could shore up our pension.
Right, so is there any way to, and there may be, like, you can't stop people from walking into a casino. But
No, listen, this is no judgment. I mean, these aren't activities that I necessarily participate in. I'm fully aware of the data points that you're speaking of. This is something that I've addressed before I was in public office. The number of people that place their hopes and wishes in gambling that come from low-income communities. There's no secret there. That's why I do know that there are some efforts to make sure that people are being educated and that the addiction that could come as a result of that type of activity is quite severe and real. And so we've, challenged our corporate partners to not just be sensitive, but to be thoughtful in how we engage with participants. But in terms of addressing our pension obligations in this state, I do believe that we should have progressive revenue and we should tax the rich.
Thank you, Jake. Hey, man. Hey. I want a better idea of what Chicago police would be called upon to do to protect protesters with this executive order. If ICE was shooting pepper balls at protesters in Chicago, what would this executive order have police do?
Well, first of all, the clear establishment of the area in which protesters should be protected. That's the first thing, that we have to establish those parameters. And again, it's not just on the police department, right? And this is why our corporate counsel is here as well. If the federal government violates our local authority, we will use every tool that's available to us, whether that's the courts. But again, we're going to enforce my executive order, and we'll do that with clear direction to the federal government or anybody else.
Switching gears, a colleague told me that just now the City Council's licensing committee has advanced a measure that would legalize video gaming terminals. Where do you stand on those? Do you see a need for a better split with the state? Is that what you want to have those approved in Chicago?
I mean, we ultimately have to make sure that we have, we can't leave millions of dollars on the table. And so whatever comes from City Council, if it doesn't maximize the full benefit of what this opportunity could bring to the revenue structure of our city, then I'm not going to be supportive of it. We have seen firsthand when the state of Illinois works to capture more dollars that would have otherwise gone into the local economy, whether it's personal property replacement tax, the LGDF, and other forms of revenue that we have to have better control over, quite frankly, to help address the critical needs that we face. But in what has been proposed, what have been put forward, I have not seen where this particular idea maximizes our ability to be able to receive as many dollars as possible.
So you're opposed to Alderman Beal's proposal?
Yes. All right.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Patel, I want to start off where we left off last time. I asked you whether you had any knowledge.
Executive order protecting the right to protest in the city of Chicago. Chicago remains a center of civic action, as it has been since our founding. Whether it's the abolitionist movement led by Chicagoans like John and Mary Jones, the uprisings for an 8-hour workday in the Haymarket era, the industrial union movement led by the CIO, the women's rights movement, the civil rights movement, and other collective actions over the last 2 centuries. As history shows us, these peaceful protests have been a true catalyst for social change. This order is about being proactive, as we saw what happened in Broadview just a few days ago, where protesters were shot with less lethal bullets, pepper bullets, for peacefully protesting. With the presence of ICE in our neighborhoods, we can expect Chicago residents to follow in the footsteps of the generations of Chicagoans who came before them and peacefully assemble and protest. The First Amendment clearly states that we have the right to peacefully assemble, petition our government, and speak freely without intervention or fear of retaliation. If the federal government will not uphold this right, then the city of Chicago will. This executive order solidifies our commitment to protecting the constitutional rights of all residents and visitors, including the fundamental right to free speech and, again, to peacefully assemble. With this order, the roles of city departments and agencies and the Chicago Police Department are clearly defined in order to support peaceful protests and the exercise of First Amendment rights. Today, the city of Chicago affirms that peaceful protests and dissent are essential to public safety, democracy, and civic engagement. And we affirm that the CPD possesses the resources, training, and professional expertise necessary to safeguard the exercise of the First Amendment freedoms within our city. This executive order is part of our Protecting Chicago initiative, a cross-departmental effort to protect our residents' constitutional rights and defend our democracy. Another effort in this initiative that I am proud to announce is the launch of our Protecting Chicago Toolkit, available on the new city website, chicago.gov.
According to reports, it says protesters call for justice in Franklin Park after fatal ICE shooting. Borders Patrol chief announced arrive in Chicago. Now, with the low Hummer plane flying overhead, some 40 people rode through Franklin Park Monday night, chanting out across the dark, quiet streets. According to reports, it says as questions continue to surface over how the U.S. immigration and customs enforcement agents came to a fatally shot a man in Franklin Park on Friday. Community members called for justice at a rally in March. So it says Gonzalez, 38, was shot and killed after he allegedly tried to flee a traffic stop and struck an ICE officer with his vehicle, according to reports. It says, "It breaks my heart," the 29-year-old said of the shooting, brought her family out in a protest for neighboring and Inwood Park to say this is not okay to see. According to reports, it says a week ago, the Trump Department of Homeland Security announced it was beginning a surge of immigration law enforcement in Chicago. It says Operation Midway Blitz, and claiming it would target criminal, legal aliens who have taken advantage of the cities and states' sanctuary policies on Monday. Now, federal immigration enforcement agency fanning out across the Chicago Legion, arresting at least 17 people in the city and suburbs and being spotted by the Immigrants Advocate and others at a Chicago courthouse and cities, according to reports.
/protect, designed to provide residents streamlined updates of any federal intervention as well as centralized resources. This website is an expansion of the Mayor's Office of Immigrant, Migrant, and Refugee Rights' successful Know Your Rights campaign. The resources from the Know Your Rights campaign can be found on this website, in addition to resources that will help residents plan for peaceful protests, stay informed of their rights, and there is information on previous executive orders which affirm the CPD will remain locally controlled. The City of Chicago will continue doing everything in our power to protect communities and ultimately defend our democracy. The website, again, is chicago.gov/protect, and I encourage our residents to remain informed, civically, peacefully engaged. Lastly, I'm sure all saw the Finance Committee unanimously approved our global settlement for the Watts case. This is about two things. One, justice for survivors of torture and abuse by those who have been charged with keeping us safe. As all of you may remember, I included funding in our first budget for a monument in Chicago to honor the survivors of police torture. So this is a long-standing commitment of mine. It's not enough to just push for constitutional policing today. We also must rectify the crimes of the past, and that starts with justice for the victims. And in this instance, we're talking about 170 cases and 204 years of custody. 2 centuries in custody is what we're talking about. And secondly, this is of course about protecting the taxpayers. As much as we can, we have to do that. And this is a good deal for the people of Chicago, and it's a fair deal for the survivors of these crimes. And that is why I instructed our corporation counsel to pursue this strategy, and I'm glad that the city council agrees with our approach. And finally, I want to congratulate again, we have another grandparent amongst us, reporter Fran Spillman, on becoming a brand new grandmother on Sunday, and so we wish her and her entire family all the best. So thank you all. Now I am gleefully ready to answer all of your questions.
Okay. Testing. All right. William, we're going to start with you. Right here.
Locked up at High Desert, Gilbert Street, or somewhere else in the San Bernardino system, a global settlement may be coming.
In conjunction with BAM and with Pete and everybody else. Washington, D.C. should be one of the safest, cleanest, and most beautiful cities anywhere in the world. And we're in a whole different building. I do that in my part-time because it's a natural instinct as a real estate person. I was very good at that. I was very good at fixing things up. I like fixing things up. You see what's happening. The marble floors are being reinstalled, renovated, fixed. The whole place is becoming very beautiful. We're going to be adding a magnificent ballroom, most beautiful ballroom I think anywhere. We need it. I would have certainly loved to have had it today. I think we would have filled it up. A lot of you are standing outside, can't get in there.
You see, that's what I'm saying. When it comes to President Trump, man, he talking about this new ballroom and that we clean up Washington. See, Washington was a nasty, infested place that, you know, people, you would think that you got the city mayors that come from Washington. You got people that will come to Washington. But Washington, when President Trump announced that we can't have these people on our street, we can't have this homelessness, these stinking, you know what I mean, arrested people. So when they did this, you know what I mean, enchantment on homelessness. They, you know what I mean, what they did was this what made Trump deploy in National Guards to make his arrests. Because where are you gonna put these people? Where are you gonna put these people when you can't house them? So there was like over 76 arrests was made. And you know, people never seen National Guards like that in the city of Washington. You know what I mean? It got disgusting, man, and it's sick. What's happening in the streets? It's sick, fam. Let's go.
Capital. We want to be able to bring our families here. We want to be able to come and enjoy the history that makes this place great. And unfortunately, we are not in that position right now. And Mr. President, I want to thank you for taking the step that we need right now to make criminals understand that they are not going to get away with it anymore. And I'm not going to stand here and go over and over the cases. But what I can tell you is this. I see too much violent crime being committed by young punks who think that they can get together in gangs and crews and beat the hell out of you or anyone else. They don't care where they are. They can be in DuPont Circle, but they know that we can't touch them. Why? Because the laws are weak. I can't touch you if you're 14, 15, 16, 17 years old and you have a gun. I convict someone of shooting another person with an illegal gun on a public bus in the chest, intent to kill. I convict him. And you know what the judge gives him? Probation. Says you should go to college. We need to go after the DC Council and their absurd laws. We need to get rid of this concept of, no cash bail. We need to recognize that the people who matter are the law-abiding citizens, and it starts today. But it's not going to end today, because the president is going to do everything we need to do to make sure that these emboldened criminals understand we see you, we're watching you, and we're going to change the law to catch you. And my final note is this.
So are they going to change the law? See, these people are lawlessness. These people change the laws, change the Constitution law. These Constitution laws don't fit, you know what I mean, you and I. We don't have these 13 Amendment rights. See, they can put a little trick in it. And the 13 Commandments, however they call it citizenship, but however black people being convicted of the crimes. Now today they trying to find it more easy to convict more black people with crimes so they can rob them to wherever it's necessary. See, he's trickily, his deceitfully, he demonically said that he gave us, but every time we try to exercise these rights, they find a way to destroy it. We don't have these constitutional rights. It is so silly and ignorant that we didn't pledge ourselves to the flag, to the national anthem. This is why calling, Kaepernick, he took his knee. He took a kneel. Because it's so disgraceful that we didn't put our right hand over our hearts to pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. In one nation under God with liberty and justice for who? Whites. For a dominant right race people, man. You know how sick this is? to our people. You know how sick these people are, man. These people don't care. They bringing in the pressure. They causing this violence to erupt. They ain't found a solution, but they causing violence to erupt by taking your public assistance away, taking healthcare away. Now they talking about we need to come and you know what I mean, change the laws. Satan's here just to make things complicated. Things is being so complicated here. He's not here to set things right for, you know what I mean, for us, man. He's here to only make things complicated. And then you get all these ignorant American people, they vote, man. They cash in their votes. And see, I'm gonna say it like this, man. We don't want y'all pointing fingers on us, man. Like, this is why I don't vote, fam. I don't vote for these people anymore. I stopped voting, man. Because I know every time we cash in our votes, they have not done nothing in the interest of Black American people. They have not been in the interest of the Black American people, man. So we are so dumbfounded. A lot of American people just vote. I guess we need to start looking, you know what I mean, at the at the election. Like, a lot of people cashing their votes, hoping things would get better, hoping things would change, and things don't change, man. Things don't change, man. We need to wake up as American people. Wake up now and stop voting for these people. These people is not in the best of our interests, man. They're just not in the best of your interest today. You see, the great disaster is coming on America, man. These people are sick to my stomach, man. These people are sick. They sick, homie. They sick, fam. I can't stand these people, man. And then we got to be the ones to be monitored. We got to be the one that don't have a figure of speech and things like that, because we got to call things the way we got to call them. I'm sick and tired of seeing history repeat itself. I'm sick and tired whenever time we see these killings that's happening in America, we get these world leaders, they never find a solution to the problem. There's killings happening everywhere throughout America, man. You know what I mean? Crimes is happening throughout America, and they don't have a solution. They don't have a solution, man. And the best thing he can do is sign a beautiful bill to take away things. You're making it complicated. Don't you understand? You're making things complicated for the American people. You idiot. Like, I'm tired of these people, man. I'm just tired of these people, man. Then we get a lot of American people, we vote, man. What are we voting for? What are we voting for when we live in a sick society world where these people, the government, have failed you? America have failed you. The religion of America, Christianity, have failed you. We out here protesting. We out here going to this White House, and we go to this White House, we get injustice. I'm tired. And see, you know, some white folks be like, man, you tired. Just move yourself. Leave America. I'm not going nowhere. I'm not going nowhere to God push these people. When God push these people, when God comes to use the power of his force, he's going to push these people into the center. they're going to realize there's guys bringing this country to a nothing. They're going to realize that sooner or later they must pack up. Yes, these people going to have to pack up because they don't have a future no longer here. They're going to have to pack up. The sick thing that I see that the scientists can say, and I put all these things together, fam. When the scientists can say the earth is speeding up, these people are speeding things up, man. They are speeding this up, man. I don't have no sympathy anymore for these people, man. I just don't. Cause they speeding this up. They causing the world to speed up. They doing everything in the playbook. And this is why you see climate is changing. Animals, human beings is changing. This don't make sense, fam.
He's quoting other leaders from NATO, from the Middle East, King of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE. I was over there. We brought back $5.1 trillion of investment into our country. But I was, a month and a half ago, I was at NATO. Had a great thing. They agreed to put up 5% instead of 2%. 2% they didn't pay, 5% is already paid. We had a great meeting, and they all said the same thing. They said our country was dead. They thought our country was gone. 1 year ago, they said your country was dead. And now you have the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're the hottest country in the world right now. The tariffs have helped. It's given us not only the money, it's billions, trillions of dollars of money, but it gives us great power over enemies. We solved 5 wars. Pakistan and India, we just solved one. Azerbaijan, and as you know, and Armenia. The war was raging for 37 years. And the 2 leaders got up and they said, we never thought this would be solved. Russia tried to solve it. They all tried to solve it. It was a very tough situation, but we got it done. And I said to the 2 men, I said, are you guys friends? And they had a hard time. You know, they've been killing each other for 37 years, right? One was there 5 years, one was there for 22 years. He said, my whole life I've been fighting this war. And you got it solved. But we did many of those. We did in the Congo and Rwanda. That's been going on for 30 years. 8 to 9 million people killed that they know of, but it was raging, and we got that solved. We got a lot of them done. It's a great honor. But you want to have, when they come, the leaders come to our country to sign documents that the war is over or whatever, or for other reasons. They come for trade. And you want them to come through so beautifully. You ride down those roads, everything should be perfect. You shouldn't have.
You see, when foreign countries they come for trades, like for instance, China, when they had these, you know what I mean, Apple phone. Yeah, we got, you know what I mean, some project buy up some of our goods. See, you got a president that, you know what I mean, he's arrogant. America don't understand that when it comes to trades and things like that, when it comes to we gotta get, you know what I mean, like our food from China. See, 80% of our goods come out of China. So when it comes to China like buy some of our goods. See Trump. See, when China, you know what I mean, take care of some population. When they come up with these iPhones from China and they come up with these things from China, see Trump gets so upset because he don't like the fact that 80% of our products and goods come out of China. You know, he just don't like that. So, you know, he'll end up putting 50, you know what I mean, percent tariffs into China. You know what I mean? And that's the reason why, you know what I mean, we seeing that whenever it comes to, you know what I mean, negotiations, trades, you know what I mean, peace agreements and things, they can't, you know what I mean, they can't make ways to make ends meet, man. So here we are. You know what I mean? They don't know how to make good meat. See, we dealing with a you know what I mean, arrogant people, man. Cause they don't even know how to make ends meet, man. At a time like this, you would think that y'all know how to make ends meet, man. And that's why you see all her trades is going to be cut off. When it comes to her masters, cargoes, all her delicious splendor things is going to be cut off. It's going to be gone. Because ain't nobody doing no more bidding, you know what I mean, for America. Ain't nobody doing her bidding anymore. The people is fed up. America is losing friends. It's like no one wants to put up with her stupidity. Nobody wants to put up with America. So here we are. Here we are.
Self do this and get rid of the cashless bail thing and all of the things that caused the problem. I mean, if you go back, this whole thing with cashless bail is a disaster. So many problems came that we never had before. So they're watching us today, and if they don't learn their lesson, if they haven't studied us properly, because we're going to be very successful, I have zero doubt about that. It's going to be. It's a question of will it be really fast, like the border. And everyone said, they used to say, Mike used to say, I need legislation. You didn't need. I didn't get any legislation. I called up our people, and we did a great job. Tom Holman was great. As you know, our secretary did a great job. They did a great job. There's no games. They didn't play games. And we're going to have the same thing here. But then I'm going to look at New York in a little while. Let's do this. Let's do this together. Let's see. It's going to go pretty quickly. And if we need to, we're going to do the same thing in Chicago, which is a disaster. We have a mayor there who's totally incompetent. He's an incompetent man. And we have an incompetent governor there. Pritzker's an incompetent. His family threw him out of the business, and he ran for governor. And now I understand he wants to be president. But I noticed he lost a little weight, so maybe he has a chance. You know, you never know what happens. But Pritzker's a gross incompetent guy, thrown out of the family business. But when I look at Chicago and I look at LA, if we didn't go to LA 3 months ago, LA would be burning like the part that didn't burn. If you would have allowed the water to come down, which I told them about in my first term, I said, you're going to have problems, let it come down. We actually sent it. That mayor also, the city's burning. They lost like 25,000 homes. I went there the day after the fire.
Now, a lot of cities losing homes. Now, this was a president that wanted to take out FEMA. When he seen people losing homes, and when that flood came to Texas and swept everything, you had missing children's, and they was trying to take FEMA away. Trump decided, I'm just going to go and take FEMA away. And I feel sorry for those people in Milwaukee, because you're looking at $200,000, you know what I mean, dollars, homes being swept. And the insurance companies, the only thing they can do is give them $20,000. I'm gonna just tell you guys, man, when it comes to this president, man, he don't have the heart of American people. Y'all just gonna find out the hard way, man. I gotta say it the way I gotta say it, man. Now, we vote for these people to get in, and we want something to happen. We want to feel as though America can become great again, but America don't become great again because she don't work on one basic principle. When Trump is trying to write out slavery, you know, that's another thing. That's another thing that the country is having. When you trying to put slavery away, black slavery away, that becomes an issue. Where we had, you know, Trey Reed Lynch locked up at a Delta University, pronounced dead 7:05 a.m. Now, I don't know, fam. This is why I say America is cursed. This is why I said America is a wicked land. America is wicked beyond your and my imagination. So when I see the country can never be said to be the white man's own, but after conquering, taking the land from the native Indians who had that independent claim called the country of America, you've been nothing but thieves. And that's why the Lord said, revenge is mine, I'm going to pay. America is getting the same treatment as ancient Babylon is getting. Jeremiah 50:24 says, if you like to be caught in her snare, as he set the snare of ancient Babylon. America is in the same snare as ancient Babylon. This is why God is telling a people to come out of her. You got to come out of her way of life. You got to come out of her way of thinking. I mean, but we go to the Senate. Yes, we go to, you go to the Senate, then you go to the White House. You ask for justice, but we get injustice. Now, I say this to you. Our problem must be solved. Said the God of righteousness, the God of freedom, justice, and equality. Our problem has to be solved today. Because I'm not finna just go and cash in my vote to vote for a right ruler. And ever since we vote for right ruler, you know what I mean, the same things repeat itself. Every time. Violence, crimes, killings throughout America becomes a political issue we have. And neither party that seeks the presidency is faced with the problems of saving lives. Now let's go.
Approved the pipeline. I couldn't believe it. Then they say Trump wasn't tough on Russia. I was the toughest. Putin said, if you're not tough, I would hate like hell to see you visit. I stopped the biggest economic development job, the biggest job that Russia had ever built. I stopped it. It was dead. And this low IQ president came in and he let them build the pipeline and supply oil and gas all over Europe, So this is really a feel-out meeting a little bit. And President Putin invited me to get involved. He wants to get involved. I believe he wants to get it over with. Now, I've said that a few times. Then I've been disappointed because I'd have like a great call with him and then missiles would be lobbed into Kiev or some other place and you'd have 60 people laying on a road dying. I said, that's cold. But it's a violent war. 5,000 to 7,000 people a week are dying. And there's nobody from here. They're all Russian and Ukrainian people and some people from the cities, much smaller number, but still those missiles do damage and they kill a lot of people, but mostly soldiers. And they're young soldiers, although in the case of Ukraine, they're getting much older. They're drafting 60-year-olds now. It's a terrible thing to witness, and I think I have an obligation. Look, this is Joe Biden's war. This is not my war. I made a deal with NATO.
You idiot. He keeps CT going back to Joe Biden. This is Joe Biden. This become your war. Whatever happened to President Donald Trump saying, I can end this war in 24 hours? No, you can't. These foreign nations is laughing at this man. You know, it was so sad. Trump goes to the Middle East. You had the reporters ask him questions. Did we come to a conclusion on any negotiation, any deals? Don't you know he went up there and these foreign leaders were looking at him as an idiot? Come on, y'all. Them foreign leaders were looking at Trump as an idiot, man. This is the man. You gotta remember. This was the man. He didn't even stop by. He didn't stop by Israel. He didn't go to Israel, but he went. He went to the Middle East, where he went to Europe. He didn't bother to make his trip to Israel. See, this is why I said America have no desire for Israel. You see, they posit their little brother Israel on foreign soil, the Palestinians' land, which is the Arab land. And, you know, Trump went to the Middle East. Them people laughed at him. So there was a reporter asked Trump, you know what I mean, about did we come to a conclusion for any deal, with any deal made? And I remember right before the reporter asked the question, Trump went into another question, man. He skipped that report and went to another question, man. See, I'm telling y'all, man, you know what I mean? We got a president. Fam. We have a president of the United States that just don't have fresh ideas, fam. And here we are. A president that just don't have fresh ideas for American people.
Changes in land, and the word that they would use is, they make changes. We're going to change the lines, the battle lines. Russia's occupied a big portion of Ukraine. They've occupied some very prime territory. We're going to try and get some of that territory back for Ukraine. But they've taken some very prime territory. They've taken largely ocean, in real estate we call it oceanfront property. That's always the most valuable property. If you're in a lake, a river, or an ocean, it's always the best property. Well, Ukraine, a lot of people don't know that Ukraine was largely 1,000 miles of ocean. It's gone. Other than one small area, Odessa, it's a small area. There's just a little bit of water left. So I'm going to go and see the parameters. Now I may leave and say, good luck, and that'll be the end. I may say this is not going to be settled. I mean, there are those that believe that Putin wanted all of Ukraine. I happen to be one of them, by the way. I think if it weren't for me, he would not be even talking to anybody else right now. But I'm going to meet with him. We're going to see what the parameters are. I'm then going to call up President Zelensky and the European leaders right after the meeting. Yeah. And I'm going to tell them what kind of a deal. I'm not going to make a deal. It's not up to me to make a deal. I think a deal should be made for both. I think Russia has to get back into building their country. It's a massive country. I think they have 11 time zones, if you can believe it. It's a massive, by far, from the standpoint of land, it's by far the largest. They have tremendous potential in Russia to do well. They're not doing well. Their economy is not doing well right now because it's been very well disturbed by this.
And you know why? You know why the Russian economy ain't doing so well? Because of Trump sanctions. That's why the economy of Russia ain't doing good. But what Trump don't seem to realize that the Russians is still moving around in the economy. They still getting support by Iran. You know what I mean? India, China, you know what I mean? Korea. They still moving around, even though them sanctions may be affecting the economy. See, you got an ignorant person on the screen that just don't see. See, he pokes holes and so this is why America is finna go to war with Russia. This is why. See, it's already out that NATO is pushing a line with Russia. NATO is pushing a line with Russia. And America is going to eventually have to bump heads with Russia. Because you got an arrogant person like Donald Trump saying, yeah, the economy of Russia ain't doing too good. You sticking your nose in other people's affairs, and sooner or later, you're gonna see America and Russia gonna have to go to war. Sooner or later, America and Russia are finna go to war. Trump is starting a World War III, and I've been wanting to say this: are we alone? Y'all as American people, y'all gotta think: are we alone? Did our world leaders turn against us? Are we alone? Did our world leaders turn against us? Are we alone? Because y'all not seeing the picture. Y'all not seeing the big picture here. Don't go to war if you're not ready to go to war. Now, there's chaos happening in the street where Trump is deploying National Guards. But there's a war that's coming that the American people may not see. Now, I'm asking, are we alone? Are we at war? And are we alone? Let's go.
Doesn't part of it. I would say he could go, but he's gone to a lot of meetings. You know, he's been there for 3.5 years, nothing happened. I mean, you want somebody that's been doing this for 3.5 years? What's the definition of a good deal? I'll tell you after I hear what the deal is. Because there could be many definitions. You know, you're talking about a very large and complex situation. Now, I tell you, the war that I just settled with Azerbaijan and with, as you know, in Armenia was almost as complex as this one, having to do with routes, trade. Well, we're going to have a meeting with Vladimir Putin, and at the end of that meeting, probably in the first 2 minutes, I'll know exactly whether or not a deal can be made. Because that's what I do.
You see what he said? He said, that's what I do. I make deals. No, you don't. Since when you've been back, you made a deal. Since when you've been back, you ever made a deal? He says, I make deals. You don't make no deals. The Russian involvement, Putin haven't agreed on the deal. America and Russia about to go to war, y'all. And we being blindsided right now. We actually being blindsided right now. America and Russia is about to go to war. And we being blindsided. And American people can't see it, man. Now I'm asking you, are we alone? Did our world leaders, did our governments give up on the American people? Are we alone? Are we at war? And are we alone?
In a negative way, Blackwell. In other words, take 30% to 50% off of it. But that's the latest and the greatest in the world. Nobody has it. They won't have it for 5 years. But the H-20 is obsolete. You know, it's one of those things. But it still has a market. So I said, listen, I want 20% if I'm going to prove this for you, for the country, for our country, for the U.S. I don't want it myself. You know, every time I say like 747, I want, yeah, for the Air Force. So I just wanted. So when I say I want 20, I want for the country. I only care about the country. I don't care about myself. And he said, would you make it 15? So we negotiate a little deal. So he's selling a essentially old chip that Huawei has a similar chip. championship that does the same thing. And I said, good, if I'm going to give it to you, because they have a, they have a stopper, what we call a stopper, not allowed to do it. Restricted is really known as a restrictive covenant. And I said, if I'm going to do that, I want you to pay us as a country something, because I'm giving you a release. I released them only from the age 20. Now, on the Blackwell, I think he's coming to see me again about that. But that will be a unenhanced version of the big one. Like, I don't know if you know it, we will sometimes sell fighter jets to a country, and we'll give them 20% less than we have. You know what I mean, right? That's the same.
So on Russia, do you see a time, Mr. President, when there could be normal trade between the U.S. and Russia? Should your meeting go well, should there be peace?
I do. Yeah. Russia has a very valuable piece of land. If a friend of mine said Russia's tough because they just keep on fighting. They beat Hitler, so did we.
Look, I'm gonna tell it like this, man. Russia hate the U.S. Why do people hate the U.S. right now, man? I'm gonna tell y'all, man. They've been tired of how America been, been the bulldozer. They've been tired of how, America can use manipulation and, they've been tired of how they can push their dictatorship. So, now these foreign leaders says enough is enough. We're not buying through your policies anymore. Don't you see America no longer have the power anymore to go into the Middle East and excise the Middle East? She no longer have power anymore. See, don't go to war if you're not ready to go to war, because America, they're not ready to go to war. You see how they treat their allies? You see how they don't know how to exercise Tehran? See, Tehran can likely get invaded at any time. They don't know how to exercise their allies. You know what I mean? They don't even know how to work with their allies. See, this is a mess, man. This is a mess we in, man. Are we alone? Are we at war and are we alone? Are we in a reception time where, we see things the way we see it? Martial law. The government is going into a reception time. If we are not in a reception time. Now what else? Now what else do we see? We see South Korea, launching missiles. Now, what else do we see happening? Well, we got Russians, are fueling this war with the United States. So what else do we see? Now, I've been wanting to say, are we alone? Are we at war already? Are we coming into reception times? Let's go.
On subjects, does anybody have a question of them? And then you guys can, okay, a question, Brian, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. All right.
And by the way, this is only on DC, and then they're going to leave because it's unfair to have them stand up here all day long. Brian.
I've got two questions for you. First, about DC. This is personal for me as well. Last year, I was robbed on the streets by one of these teenage thugs. Had a gun, got away with it. Let's talk about the effort that between law enforcement, prosecutors, and judges, because it's a recycling belt that these kids go. They don't fear the police. They know it. You talk about how we've got to get these judges and put these kids behind bars. Right. Adult crimes deserve adult penalties. And my second question, I'll have you answer that, please.
You want me to answer?
Or whoever wants to.
Okay, it's real. You want me to answer? Here's the problem. Assuming that they're 17 years, older than 17 years old, I can get the case. If they're under 18 years of age, I can only get the case if it's murder, rob one, rape, or even if they shoot a gun but don't kill you, I can't get it. So the law has to be changed. As the president said, counsel's family. That has to be changed. All right, then even assuming I get the case, I get jurisdiction, I get a conviction, the DC Council has given the judges the ability to give probation on shootings. And so then it's up to them. All of these things, the Youth Rehabilitation Incarceration Reduction Act, and now they want to seal records. So if we work hard, we get a conviction, they want to wipe it out. So that needs all to be changed.
Okay, this question, Pam, would you answer that also?
Yeah, and just back to that topic. Let's be clear though, we're going to charge them and we're going to track every single thing they do throughout every step of the court process and report back to you and let all of you know what's happening to them. Because the people who are prosecuting them, the judges who are trying them, they also need to be held accountable.
Mr. President, also, this is the most people we've ever seen in this break.
I've never seen
Ever, right?
I've never seen any. Where's Caroline? Where's my superstar? Caroline. Is Caroline in the back? Where's Caroline? Come here, Caroline. Come here, Caroline. Come here. Is she doing a good job, by the way? Come here. Is this the largest crowd that you've ever seen?
This is definitely the most packed briefing, and I think all of you would agree. I think it's why we need to build a ballroom.
You're building the big, beautiful ballroom. Could we build a big, beautiful briefing room? Updated technology. More seats.
I don't want you to be comfortable. So now I don't want to make.
Now, you see how they talk about this big ballroom? Now, Trump, the Republicans, you know what I mean? I'm going to tell y'all like this, pal. This would make me think that they had no concern in the assassination of Charlie Kirk, man. The Republican parties and the Democrat, we see they are fewing. Both parties are fewing. And the Republican Party showed no kind of concern in the death of Charlie Kirk assassination, y'all. Trump was celebrated at the Yankees, you know what I mean, victory. You know what I mean? Trump was talking about this new ballroom. I tell y'all, man, they threw, you know what I mean, Charlie Kirk under the bus. They assassinate because, you know what I mean, they didn't want Charlie Kirk, you know what I mean, going against their agenda of what Trump is doing. See, Trump has a project. You know what I mean? This project, you know what I mean, 25. Trump, you know what I mean? And they talked about Trump being the last president. And they talk about Trump will possibly run a third term. Now, this thing is very serious. See, Trump is not letting people go on and step over him. You know what I mean? This was personal, man. You know what I mean? And this is why when I look at the Republican parties, I look at them as, you know what I mean, they using their power. They using power and authority. You know what I mean? When we look at Republican, they've been a dominant group. And a lot of times, sometimes you see that, you know what I mean, Democrats used to give in to the Republicans because they've been so much of a dominant, powerful group that now you see the Democrats, they're not buying it anymore. They're not buying this Trump administration. They're just not buying it anymore. So something just have to give in. You even see the people, the American people, they're not buying it anymore. Let's go.
Make that beautiful Capitol, and it's going to happen very quickly. Thank you all. Thank you all very much. Wow. I've been up here a lot. I've never seen a crowd like this. I think we need a ballroom, and that's happening. It's going to be a beautiful ballroom. This is really a lot of people, most I've ever seen in this room. And we're here for a very serious purpose, very serious purpose. Something's out of control, but we're going to put it in control very quickly like we did on the southern border. I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States. I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that. Very good people, but they're tough, and they know what's happening. They've done it before. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly. And you people are victims of it, too. You know, you're reporters, and I understand a lot of you tend to be on the liberal side, but you don't want to get mugged and raped and shot and killed. And you all know people and friends of yours that happened. And so you can be anything you want, but you want to have safety in the streets. You want to be able to leave your apartment or your house where you live and feel safe and go into a store to buy a newspaper or buy something. And you don't have that now. The murder rate in Washington today is higher than that of Bogota, Colombia.
Look, the chances of you being anything you want is slim, y'all. It's very slim. I wouldn't even try to just go get it, because it's the chances of you being whatever you want is slim. It's sad me, because we've been nothing but tool. We've been nothing but object to its occurrence. It's sad to see young, you know what I mean, black, you know what I mean, people. When we look into the, you know what I mean, industry, the entertainment, the hip hop culture. It's sad to me that these people are willing to do what it takes. These rituals, a lot of times they get into these rooms, they do things that normally it would never, you know what I mean, it would never cross their minds. So all of a sudden they get into that. A lot of our people got into these sexual things, man. These homosexual things, man. And this what, you know what I mean, this is what Satan had to offer. And then he set brothers against brothers. And then he kills both of them. And then he have you kill your own people. And then he got these indictments. Y'all not thinking. Y'all not really thinking. You can't, in these times, you can't go out and do, you know what I mean, anything to be anything today. Because he don't have a bright future for you anymore. He made you no use. Now, if you go back to these white man, for him to put the chain on you again, he would strongly do so. If you go back thinking that you could be a use to them, then he's gonna make you useful. He's gonna have you do all these things all over again. These people are willing. See, these people are willing to go the extra mile. So when I see people being nominated in these Grammys, they go back into the rooms. These people get passed around. The sad thing, man, when Jab Wright came out, not to change the subject, we're gonna get right back to the topic, but not to change the subject. But Jab Wright says that she knows 20 people that's affected that's living with HIV. Los Angeles got got a high rate people living with HIV, man. People passing that shit around like cancer, man. People don't care about, you know what I mean, people health, man. When you living with that, people are willing to pass that. Just look at Houston. When we look at Houston, Houston is one of the big, you know what I mean, popular populations, man. You got South Carolina, we got Atlanta, you got Baltimore, you got Miami, you got Memphis, Chicago. You got all these places that people living with it, and they really pass it to you, man. Let's think how many people are living with it. This is what Jab Wright said. How many people do you think is living with it? Because she said I can name 20 that's living with it. I mean, this is a sick society world we're living in, man. It's sick. They use black people. You should see how they use us, man. They use us as we nothing but a tool. We nothing but an object to its occurrence. This is why we are the filthiest rags. We are the garbage. Our people been cursed. We've been cursed, y'all. We've been a cursed people. I won't want to look around and think around this time I can just be anything I want. I want to say they here to tighten the chain, the food chain. The big fallout people's talking about. America's going to have a fallout, man. You're going to see the economy crash. You're going to see the fall of our currency. Yeah, America's going to, go through a great fallout. Believe me, you'll come back to this video. Believe me, she's going to have a fallout. Let's go.
Getting rid of the slums where they live. Caravans of mass youth rampage through city streets at all times of the day. ATVs, motorbikes, they travel pretty well. Entire neighborhoods are now under emergency curfews. Just this past weekend, gunfire went through, and you saw that the Navy Yard. I saw it this morning. They saw that they fought back against. Well, see, they fight back until you knock the hell out of them, because it's the only language they understand. But they fought back against law enforcement last night, and they're not going to be fighting back long, because I've instructed them and told them whatever happens, they love to spit in the face of the police as the police are standing up there in uniform. They're standing and they're screaming at them an inch away from their face, and then they start spitting in their face. And I said, you tell them, you spit and we.
The hardest thing is to get started. You have to get it on paper.
Police are standing, and they're told, don't do anything under any such of this, and you can see they want to get at it. And they're standing there, and people are spitting in their face, and they're not allowed to do anything. But now they are allowed to do whatever the hell they want. This dire public safety crisis stems directly from the abject failures of the city's local leadership. The radical left city council adopted no cash bail. By the way, every place in the country where you have no cash bail is a disaster. That's what started the problem in New York, and they don't change it. They don't want to change it. That's what started it in Chicago. I mean, bad politicians started it, bad leadership started it, but that was the one thing that's central, no cash bail. Somebody murders somebody and they're out on no cash bail before the day is out. We're going to end that in in Chicago, we're going to change the statute. I spoke with Pam and Todd and everybody. We're going to change the statute, and I'm going to have to get the Republicans to vote because the Democrats are weak on crime. Totally weak on crime. They don't know why. They want to stop because they get mugged too. But we're going to change no cash bail. We're going to change the statute, get rid of some of the other things, and we'll count on the Republicans in Congress and Senate to vote. We have the majority, so we'll vote. We don't have a big majority, but we've gotten everything, including the great, big, beautiful bill. Got that done, and that's one of the greatest things that's ever happened to people in this country. They're starting to figure it out how good it is. The biggest tax cut in history.
See, but they never tell you what's inside that great, beautiful bill. I'm telling y'all, when things about to hit the, you know what I mean? When things about to hit the fan, when a lot of Americans feel the domino effect, he was trying to take out FEMA. When he seen natural disaster, when he seen those homes, when he went into, when the moment Trump went into Tennessee, the moment that you had missing children's was missing. The moment he took his trip to Texas, Trump had to put FEMA back on the table. The moment that they was trying to take FEMA away, Trump decided to put FEMA back on the table. Notice the insurance companies, man, they can't do nothing with people, you know what I mean, losing their house. If your house was to, if a flood was to come and the flood would wipe away your house, the insurance company, they only can cover so little. You're looking at $200,000 homes, man, and they giving people $20,000. A lot of people can't live with that, man. You know, a lot of people live in situations about to change because you guys, I want to say this to you. We are going to see 200 years of family, y'all. 200 years of great family that's going to come. And if you're in the South, you know what I mean, the South going to get hit. I mean, these floods, you know what I mean? See, we in monsoon season, but they've been saying with the glaciers, right? We're going to get a impact globally, which means that due to these glaciers, the snow is melting rapidly, which means it's going to cause huge flood problems all into the Carolina coast. North Dakota, South Dakota, all in the New England areas. Yeah, they're going to be seeing great quantity of snow. It's going to be bad, you guys. The Virginia area is going to see flooding. Kentucky, Milwaukee, New York, New Jersey. Missouri is going to see floods. The whole entire state is going to see major flooding, y'all, due to the glaciers. So, just a heads up, you guys, it's going to get real bad, man. Things going to really start folding, y'all. It's going to get bad, man. And, you know, the least thing he can do is decide to bring FEMA back. I'm telling y'all, man, people are going to be losing their homes. Insurance company, it's going to be so bad. Insurance company, they only going to insure what they can insure. They ain't going to be able to help everyone, y'all. It's going to get real bad. Things going to get real tense. Let's go.
And the Department of Homeland Security. You know, a lot of nations, they don't have anything like that. They got some police, and they're rough police. They don't have DEA, ATF, FBI, Park Police, U.S. Marshal Service, Secret Service, Department of Homeland Security. They got some police, but they're rough police, and they do their job. They don't have crime. We're not gonna have crime either. They made dozens of arrests, and that's what starts to happen. Again, cashless bail. Watch what we do with that. Today, we're formally declaring a public safety emergency. This is an emergency. This is a tragic emergency. And it's embarrassing for me to be up here. You know, I'm going to see Putin. I'm going to Russia on Friday. I don't like being up here talking about how unsafe and how dirty and disgusting this once beautiful capital was, with graffiti all over the walls. It's another part of it, by the way. Because we're talking about safety, but we're also talking about beautification. We have the most beautiful, potentially, capital in the world. We always have. But people come from Iowa, they come from Indiana, they come and then they get mugged. Not going to happen. Keep coming, because by the time you get your trip set, it's going to be safe again, and it's going to be clean very quickly. We're going to replace the medians that are falling down all over the roads. We're going to replace the potholes. We're going to put a nice new coat of asphalt over the top. No, we don't have to rip the road out and spend.
Why the roads being ripped out? Because they put cheap cement on. You know what I mean? They put cheap cement. That's why the roads is being ripped, man. They don't spend. They don't notice. They don't spend top dollars. You know what I mean? From the construction companies come to put cement on. You know what I mean? Our roads is really bad, man, because they put the cheap cement on. You know what I mean? It's sad, man. You got people, Oregon comes to Washington. And Trump said we got to get these graffitis out of here. And you should see how he treat homeless, man. You should see how he said we got to get these nasty, dirty, stinking homeless out of our streets. Because we can't have this in Washington. We can't have this dirty, nasty, infection, homeless people living in our streets. As a president of the United States, you have a president. This is what he thinks about the homelessness. It's sad. Then you got the city mayors that be in these cities. Well, we can house them, but how much you going to house? You know, there was 76 arrests made in Washington when Trump brought in National Guards. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
It's been used many times over the years. I don't think we'll need it. I think we've got so many great people, including the people that are in the police department with proper leadership. They'll immediately begin massive enforcement operations targeting known gangs, drug dealers, and criminal networks to get them the hell off the street, maybe get them out of the country, because a lot of them came into our country illegally. They shouldn't have been allowed in. They come from Venezuela. They come from all over the world. We're going to get them the hell out. They won't be here long. But some of these people, a lot of them are homegrown criminals. And these are bad people. These are rough people. And this is just a list of some of the people that were given to me today that were criminals removed from the D.C. streets this weekend. They were rough and tough. But we're rougher and tougher. Look at these people here. Nothing, you know. They're not going to be your local school teacher. Look at this guy. He has killed people numerous times. They're not going to be an asset. They will never be an asset to society. I don't care. I know we all want to say, oh, they're going to be rehabbed. It's not going to be rehabbed. I'm going to ask Doug Burgum to come up and say a couple of words because he's in charge, as you know. He's Interior, but he's in charge of the U.S. Park Police. And I've heard so many great things about the Park Police. They're proud of it. They've been there for a long time. Their families oftentimes grow into the roles. They love the country. They love this area. So, Doug, could you say a few words, please?
Thank you, Mr. President.
On behalf of the U.S. Park Police, this is the oldest federal police force in the nation. They were formed in 1791 by none other than President George Washington. They've got the awesome responsibility of protecting our nation's most sacred monuments.
Keep in mind, y'all, George Washington was a fugitive, man, from England. Last time I checked, you don't have to have no qualification being president. This is sad because they will continue to hold on their ruling. When a term has approached, you know what I mean? When every nation has a term, your term is being appointed. And you don't have no long to decide, because once a term has approached, you don't have no time to decide. The term has come to an end. So when people start being thinking that, oh, America, see, I don't want y'all to look up at these world leaders as a Christ, your God, something for you to look up to. Because at the end of the day, what have America did for us? America have never benefited you and me, but only to keep us slave, only to keep us in this type of condition. America never had anything in the interest of the Black American people. And that's why, you know what I mean, when we look at the government, you know what I mean, we look at the government, you know what I mean, everything, you know what I mean, been already fulfilled, that these things, the stonework will be written on the government walls. You see, a time, my brothers, has approached. Now, America will have to do a marvelous thing and square a deal giving a Black man justice. Because doing the justice will have checked her fall. She'll have to do a basic principle to get the extension of time, so that her time can be prolonged. But she's not going to do, you know what I mean, what she needs to do so that she can get the extension of time from God. Now, I feel sorry for a lot of y'all that worship and look up to the white man and worship your war leaders. I feel sorry, because the going is going to get tough. And all people do is point the finger at the wrong people. We are doing nothing but explaining what's going to come, what's going to happen. America is going to fall. She's going to unravel. We finna go to the big fallout. We going through a great depression. People are down here, suffering from malnutrition. People are suffering mentally, physically, psychologically. People going through anxiety. All behind this wicked devil. He want to do all the ill he can. He want to see America want to carve out a future for you. They want to make America unaffordable so you can't live here. They want to make it unaffordable for us. They want to dehumanize the population. They want to do this population control. They want to target Black America because they want to resegregate Black Americans. This is what they've been on. They make black people target here. See, we tired of being your channel slave. And see, this is why I say this, because they programming us for destruction. See, we are programmed for destruction. And see, 99% of us don't even know that our future is at stake. See, whenever evil spooners ready to do their worst, see, they're going to make it difficult for the 99% ignorant to ever know what's at stake. Our future's at stake. See, we are sitting in the crossfire in the hands of our enemies to take a deliverer to come to deliver us. And see, the oppressors, they're ready to do anything to put us in hard tasks, to keep us, intact. See, the white man wants to keep a tab on. They want to keep us intact. This is why they want to bring the microchip in. They want to keep us, intact. They want to keep tabs over us. Let's go.
National fentanyl is enough to kill 115 million Americans. 115 million Americans. Cops are getting after it. The FBI has arrested 19,000 people this year alone. Thanks to President Trump's administrations, that's double.
Training for a gold medal means running really fast.
You have to be strong.
It starts with nutrition.
Nutrition is super important for me.
I want to make sure Goose is getting the best nutrients possible, and I want nothing but the best for my.
This is what happens when you have great leadership at the Attorney General with Pam Bondi. Your administration's priority of protecting the homeland and protecting American citizens and protecting our children, and the murder rates are plummeting. We are now able to report that the murder rate is on track to be the lowest in U.S. history, in modern recorded U.S. history, thanks to this team behind me and President Trump's priorities. And how do we do it? And what are we going to bring to D.C.? Well, we did it in Northern Virginia, thanks to Terry Cole and Governor Youngkin and the team. We stood up a task force out in my Northern Virginia field office, and we said, let's let good cops be cops. Let's get them the intelligence and what they need, and let's get the red tape out of their way, and let's get DOJ partnered up with us to bring great prosecutions. And that's exactly what we did. In 1 month, we arrested 545 violent felons. 545 in the state of Virginia, thanks to Governor Youngkin's partnership. And that simplicity in law enforcement is what's coming to Washington, D.C.
Now, you see how the government is spending tax dollars on these ICE agents? Our tax dollars is going to these ICE agents. Now think that you've been a hardworking American here. Just think of what the government is doing, funding, tax dollars to ICE agents. I'm telling y'all, man, this thing been sick, y'all. This thing been, sick, man. But like I said, you guys, for more updates, please stay subscribed to this channel, man. I'm going to be back with another video, man. But till then, we out, man.